I was pregnant. It was so hot. I just wore smock. You don't care how you look. But we had new son. They were still working on the clinic, and I had a baby in the army cot, and I don't know. We started at middle of night, and we called a army truck, and we were stopped on the way to the hospital or the clinic by police. We were wondering where we were going, but rushed to the clinic there. I was the first one that had baby in a camp in our block. Since we had a lot of babysitters, I learned to knit and crochet and did a lot of handcraft because we didn't need to cook. And my husband was home because I was pregnant, so he helped me a lot. He did all the washing, took care of the kids, and helped me. Yeah, I was lucky.
Oh, she hemorrhaged to death because the hospital was very inadequate. They didn't have the facility. My mother asked the doctor, please send in a specialist because my daughter's pregnancy is not normal. And he said, as far as I am director, no outsider comes.
Which doctor was that?
Dr. Bodo. When the ambulance came after us, they said, we need to take you to the hospital. Your daughter and your sister is not doing well. And so my mother's heart just sank, I can tell. So we all went, and then they're dragging that oxygen tank, and I said, I hope that isn't for Ruby. It was for Ruby. And she was already going softly because she was barely breathing. And she had twins. And she did have an abnormal pregnancy. When she died, my mother got the doctor to the side and told him, and my mother was a quiet woman, never spoke up, but she said, if you had called a specialist, she said, then I would forgive you for my daughter's death. But I cannot forgive you because you refused to bring a specialist. So he said, well, we did everything we could, but she couldn't accept that. But I'm sure that deep inside, she always carried that her oldest child that had to pass away so soon. She was only 23. When your children die before you, that hurts because you feel you should die before they do.
And when I woke up in the morning, Helen said she had to go pee. You know, she said, I have to go to the bathroom, so I could hear her running over to wake my mom up. And she's trying to wake my mother up. And our mother does not wake up. And then I ran out there and I was trying to wake my dad up. And he wouldn't wake up. And there was all kinds of people crowding to the screen, well, to the door, and you could hear them rapping. Then the neighbors came and took us out. But I could hear my dad breathing. I could hear him gurgling. And so, anyway, they took us out. No one ever told us that they died. I mean, no one tells little kids anything. I remember going to the funeral because I heard the gongs, I smelled the incense, but no one said, hey, you're never going to see your mother and father again. So then I think we stayed with a neighbor. Then we went to the orphanage. After the war, when I was living with my aunt, it wasn't talked about. It was just like swept under the table. We were in a small town, and I don't even think any of my friends or any of the people in that town might have known anything about the suicide and the murder. It was a past life. We started a new life once we got there and just went forward, you know. It was just like part of my life was just cut off with a pair of scissors.
And then my father died in camp. And so we had a funeral. My sister died in Philadelphia. So then we had the funeral in camp. And My brother died he died at the county hospital because he had cancer, but we had his funeral in camp, so there were 3 sad days, all within a 6-month period in 1945. That's the worst. The only good thing was that we didn't have the money to pay for funerals, and the government paid for the funerals. But it wasn't easy on my mother to lose a sister first, the oldest daughter, then her husband, the oldest brother. He had just gotten married in November of the year before and died in August. He had cancer. He was a dentist, but unfortunately, I felt sorry for the widow, the young widow that we had to leave.
I was going to leave for Lincoln, Nebraska, and then my father said, "No, we have somebody for you that we want you to meet." And I met him, and then we went for walks around the camp several times, and I thought, well, I guess it's okay. And I thought, my gosh, he's a camp reports officer. There must have, there were a lot of women I used to hear that they were interested in him. And I thought, why me? And I thought about it, and I thought about it, I thought, maybe I shouldn't say yes, But after I took several walks with him, talk about families, he seemed to have a good family. So then I consented. And I never regret it.
We didn't have a thing in our apartment, so-called apartment. There's no chair, no table. I started thinking about what I told my dad, I said, don't worry, I'll take care of Mom. I wanted to go out and find some scrap wood and make some chair for Mom. That is what made me go out looking for scrap woods. And that's when I saw this MP. I asked him, can one go over, there was a scrap woods about 10 feet high. And the guy said, sure. I went over to the scrap pile, and then I heard somebody yelling at me. So I looked up, and it was this MP. I had the scrap wood in my arm. So I started walking towards him. All of a sudden I see this guy here lowering his rifle and aiming at me. And I thought, what the hell is he doing, And that's when I heard it go off. I found myself picking myself up. Well, as soon as I heard the gun go off, I felt things going through my body, like hot iron rod running through me. And when I started picking myself up, then that's when I realized, my God, I was full of blood. Oh my God, I've been shot. All I wanted was for a table and a chair for Mom.